And when I was elected, I said I would always be honest with you. So today, I want to take a few moments to talk about the new COVID variant, first identified last week in Southern Africa. It's called the Omicron. You have to get the shot. It's called the Omicron. We have the best vaccine in the world. It's called the Omicron. You have to get the shot. It's called the Omicron. We've moved forward in the face of COVID-19. If you aren't vaccinated, get that shot. They're free and convenient. Get that first shot.
I got it done. I got the vaccine done. It was all done.
You have to get your vaccine. You have to get the shot. South Africa quickly notified the world of this new variant. This kind of transparency is to be encouraged and applauded. But we took action. We'll fight and look, we're going to fight and beat this new variant as well. It's called the Omicron. You have to get the shot. It's called the Omicron. We have the best vaccine in the world. It's called the Omicron. You have to get the shot. It's called the Omicron. We've moved forward in the face of COVID-19. A year ago, America was floundering against the first variant of COVID. This variant is a cause for concern, not a cause for panic. A fully vaccinated booster person is the most protected against COVID. Look, I am sparing no effort.
You know the thing.
You know what I mean? We have the best vaccine in the world, the best medicines, the best scientists, and we're learning more every single day. We're in a very different place as we enter the month of December this month compared to where we were last September. It's called the Omicron. You have to get the shot. It's called the Omicron. We have the best vaccine in the world. It's called the Omicron. You have to get the shot. It's called the Omicron. We've moved forward in the face of COVID-19.
Spike Cohen.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to the Vanguard. For Spike, the Omicron variant of VP candidates Cohen, I am Matt Wright, and together we are traversing the muddied waters of freedom.
When you forgot to come up with a nickname last minute. Folks, thanks so much for tuning the Omicron variant of... Well, that's true, because both Biden and Harris wanted to avoid me like the plague, huh? Huh?
Hey.
So, folks, thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Muddy Waters of Freedom. This is a Muddy Waters media production. Check us out everywhere, all social media platforms, all podcasting platforms, everywhere on the internet, and muddywatersmedia.com as well. Be sure, wherever you're watching or listening to this in this moment, be sure to share it. Be sure to subscribe, be sure to like, be sure to comment, be sure to tweet and or retweet and tweet other people's retweets, retweet their tweets, then go and comment on their comment, like their comment, have them like your comment. What was that?
Where are you Max Headrooming? That is a reference that not many people are going to understand.
That's not good at all. All right, we're going to hopefully not have that happen anymore. It's still happening. Great. Neat. Hey, kids, do all those things. So be sure to share it right now. Share. And if you're liking and subscribing to us on YouTube, don't just hit subscribe. Hit the little bell next to it, because we want your phone to explode, positively explode with notifications every time we go live. Matt?
What everybody should do also is, if ever you find yourself watching Alex Jones, you should ask him why he stole Spike Cohen's background.
Yes. And my shtick.
Yeah, why are you stealing Spike Cohen's background? Can't you come up with your own background, Alex?
Why are you trying to be like Spike Cohen, Alex Jones?
First and foremost, allow me to thank the wonderful and fine people at Nakamal at Home for the kava I am drinking on this fantabulous episode
And
of the
allow
Muddy
me to
Waters of
thank
Freedom.
the Le Bleu for this delicious, damn-tastic water that I'm drinking on this episode, the Muddy Waters of Freedom. Bulavanaka.
Ulavanaka.
I hope it doesn't keep doing that thing with the shutter. That's... Oh, no, did it again.
Yeah.
That's great. That's good. That's good, because it's live, so there's not a damn thing I can do about it.
There's nothing you can do about it at this point.
That's the best part.
Absolutely.
I can't even try to guess what's going on right now. Good stuff. Hey, folks.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Hey, great news, everyone. This episode is brought to you by the Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus, the second largest and the fastest growing, not second fastest growing, the fastest growing caucus in the Libertarian Party. Be sure to become a member today of the absolute powerhouse that is taking over the Libertarian Party by going to the Facebook group Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus. And you can also become an official voting member of the Waffle House Caucus by going to, you can go to the store at muddiedwatersmedia.com and then go press the store button. And then you can get some Waffle House Caucus shirts and buttons and all sorts of fun stuff to brighten up your day just in time for the holidays, huh? That's what you need.
Yeah.
That's what you need for the holidays, is that. And then...
That is what you need.
The Gravy King. Joe Solosky. Joe Solosky is running for governor of Pennsylvania. Joe Solosky is the key to Pennsylvania's success. And if you'd like to help him become the first governor of Pennsylvania, or the first libertarian governor ever, then be sure to go to Joe Solosky. That's JoeSoloski.com. Jack Casey has written 3 books at least. He might have written more. That's irrelevant to what we're talking about right now, because I'm not concerned about those. I want you to buy...
He doesn't give us money to promote them.
He doesn't give us money for those ones, so I want you to stay very hyper-focused on the books that he's paying us to talk about. I'm not worried about the other things. But Jack Casey has written these incredible books, I'm told, and they are the royal green, in silver throned, and crowned by gold. Are they good? I have no idea, and I'll never know,
No clue.
and I don't care to know, because if they are good, then I'd feel terrible about making fun of them, and if they're not good, then I certainly don't want to be associated with it. So I'm just going to not know, and I'm going to let you find out by going to theroyalgreen.com and purchasing them today. Thomas Queter, he's someone that I think is good, and I'll vouch for him because he's not a book, and I don't have to read him. Thomas Queter is a great man. He is running for he's running in state senate. He's running for the 52nd district of New York. And he says, I run better than Albany, which he finds hilarious because he's a cripple in a wheelchair and his legs do that. And he finds that hilarious. I don't, and I'm very uncomfortable saying that. And he likes that discomfort that it creates in me because that's the kind of guy he is. Other than that, he's a fantastic guy. And
Fantastic
frankly,
human.
He's an amazing human and a great person too. And if you want to help him become the first libertarian state senator in New York, then go to TomFor52, that's TOMFOR 52.com today. Defy the power in Stitches and Glitches. We need to update this because now they got the other thing. But they have some incredible tumblers and water pipes. Not bongs, water pipes. Huh? You know what I mean. But not bongs.
Yes.
And they're incredible value. They are very well made. They're the highest quality. They keep your hots hot. They keep your warms warm. They keep your colds cold, and they keep your lukewarms lukewarm. And it magically knows that. You don't have to input anything. It just knows what to do. And in addition to that, they also do full customization for free, which is insane. I've never, ever heard of such a thing. So be sure to go to stitchesandglitches.com Or for libertarian flavored stuff, go to defythepower.com, but really they're the same company, so you can go to either, and get some incredible tumblers today. Matt?
So how was you went Max Headroom?
If I'm going to do the thing, then I might as well have the Max Headroom.
No, I get it. I get it. You absolutely should do it. How was your weekend?
It was great. Is this very distracting?
Not more than normal.
Okay.
Not more than other things.
Not more than the orbit thing.
The spin. Right. Not more than the spinning globe.
The spinning globe.
Right. I gotta move.
I had a great moment on Kennedy last night. I had a great moment where she introduced me as being, live from the NORAD screen or something like that. And I was like, no, this is a green screen. This isn't really happening behind me. And it was it was in the part where it's supposed to be quick, and she just introduces the people, and we're like, hi, Kennedy. And then she goes on and talks about whatever. And instead I did that, and it completely threw her off. And she's like, oh, that's not really happening behind you. And I'm like, no, it's just a trick. This isn't really happening. This type of thing doesn't even really happen.
Your shirt has green. Your shirt has green in it.
Yeah, just a little. Just enough to make it more distracting.
Right, because I'm seeing the red lines going across.
Yep. No, this is many things happening here. And then with the glitching, with the thing that, look, it did it again. Yeah, no, this is going to be, what the hell is happening? Is my computer plugged in? Yeah. Is my performance mode? Yeah, because that's performance mode. Yeah, I'm not, okay. There we go.
So,
okay. Yep. Go ahead.
You good?
Yeah. No, I'm good.
So as many people know already out there, on Friday, I asked my girlfriend to spend the rest of her life with me. I did not ask her to marry me. It was a very distinct difference because we are libertarians and I don't need to ask the government for permission. But we are still going to have a wedding and a ceremony and all that. And I was wondering if you would be my best man.
Me?
Well, yeah,
I didn't know because you didn't say. I didn't know if you meant the people,
the general population of people watching us right now.
Like if you were using the royal you. No, I'd be honored to. I'd be honored to.
Awesome, thank you.
I'd be happy to. If I don't glitch
out.
I've
always wanted Max Headroom to be my best man.
This is great, little fella. Be happy that you're going to spend the rest of your life together. I don't know what's happening.
I don't either. It's not at all distracting either. Well, I am glad. We are tentatively planned for October 22nd, so mark it on your calendar.
I was going to say, let me not be too quick to say yes, since I now live the kind of life where I may already be booked for something. Thanks, Brian.
Sorry, Idaho. I just made plans.
Sorry. Bay Area Libertarian Caucus. That's clear. So I will mark that right now.
Excellent.
Matt and Sarah not getting married. Okay. Cool. Yeah, no, thank you. I'm honored to do it. I'm honored to do it, and I can't wait.
I am, you are my best friend, and you're like a brother to me, and I can't imagine another person I would rather have standing next to me.
Thank you, man.
On that day.
And I love you too. And what I really love is the chutzpah that you have to just ask me live. Because what if I had been like,
no.
Actually, I've never approved of a Jew marrying a Gentile, which would be weird because my wife's a Gentile.
Right. I was going to say. So you didn't know that.
No, you knew that. No, yeah. I guess you didn't.
I knew that was going to be.
Not like that, though. So this episode, I'm honored to do it. I love you. like an absolute, like you are family. You're like a brother. You are a brother, and I am happy to do it. And you know what also I'm happy to do? Why, that's the Mudwater Mushroom Coffee Replacement Cacao Rapid Fire segment, brought to you by Mudwater Coffee Alternative. If you woke up today and said, Mike, Spike, Matt, you're in my room. What the hell? This just happened. I'm scared. But hey, while you're here, as my fear is wearing down, I'd like you to know something. There was once a man. Have I told people the story of Jacques Devalier?
No, I don't believe so.
No one has heard the story of Jacques Devalier?
No, I don't believe so.
Jacques Devalier was a great man who lived in my hometown. Jacques Devalier lived in my hometown of Edelborough in France. And Jacques,
that's your hometown.
Jacques got to know, he was a great man, and we had all of we were a small town in Ethelborough, and we wished we thought the finest of him. We thought he'd go on to put us on the map of France. And he disappeared. And it was a very sad time. So the Mudwater coffee replacement has masala chai, cacao, mushrooms, turmeric, sea salt, cinnamon, and literally nothing else. And if you're thinking, that sounds like that might taste interesting in my mouth, huh? Yeah, no, you're right. All those things are definitely what that would seem like. You're definitely going to want to add some honey or some sugar or maybe coffee.
Yeah, you're going to want to do that.
You're going to add something there. But I do drink this. It's very good, and it does help me. It's got 1/7 the caffeine of coffee, just enough caffeine to get you up and ready for the morning, like this. I was going to see if it did the jitter thing.
That would be so funny.
Like this. No? Okay. But not so much caffeine that you end up having crashes and depression and a slight addiction and heart problems. Like this. I have addictions and a heart problem.
That's
do
me.
The thing? No? That's I could just do a screen where it's just you, like this, and it just shows you. Oh,
just
now it's like the more I move, the more it's anyway. So if you want to get some Mudwater, go to muddywaters.freedom.com/mud, and you can get your Mudwater today. Matt?
Yes. So, as we all know and have been paying attention to for the last 2 years.
Yes.
Yeah, because that was in 2000. That was in 19. That was January of 19.
Wait, no, it wasn't. It was January of... Because we broke the news when Josh Smith was on the show to talk about his run for chair.
Which run?
That's what I'm trying to remember. It might have been the second one.
I thought it was January of 19. You would think that these would be things that I put in the notes, but no, these are not things I put in the notes. I think that I know them. January of 19. It was January of 19. According to Wikipedia, of course, but I feel like I can trust that one.
Yeah, it was. Yes. Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah. It was January of 19. And that's when we had him on the show. Because at the time we were all like, it's terrible if it happened, but it's.
No, when we had Josh Smith on, it was Red Hat Kid. It was Nick Sandman.
Well, at any rate, when we did talk about it, I remember we were like, okay, so if this happened, this is terrible.
Right.
This sounds awful sus. We were saying sus before the kids were.
Right. Because Among Us hadn't come out yet.
Actually, Among Us has been around for like 7 years or something like that, or 4 years or something. We knew.
But it hadn't become popular. We knew.
No, we were into it. We were big Among Us.
Right. Yeah, big Among Us live. Yeah. So January of 2019, we started covering this story, and then we stopped because, well, we knew it wasn't a story.
Yeah.
But Jussie Smollett was found guilty nearly 2 years later of 5 felony charges last Thursday. These were, I just really need to read one. Making a false police report. He was the victim of a hate crime to Officer Mohammed Beg, and making a false police report. He was the victim of battery to Beg. And then you can just repeat those multiple times.
I like that they have a specific crime for lying to Officer Beg. Like, it's not just that you lied. You lied to Officer Beg.
Well, he also lied to Detective Kimberly Murray.
Again, a separate crime. Kimberly Murray,
separate crime.
Mohammed Beg. They are the Jacques de Gatineaus of Chicago. As you know, in my hometown of Edmonton, France, Jacques de Castrouet was a great man, a brilliant, a darling of a man, both bright, wonderful, and also approachable. And so it didn't feel like you didn't feel intimidated by him. You just felt compelled to just push him along and to help him along and to cheer him on, because we knew that when he would get older, that he would amount to great things for our town of Aden, France. But then he disappeared, and it was a sad time.
Sad day. Sad day.
It was a sad time. But speaking of a sad time, it's a sad time for famed another French man who's not from Aden, Jussie Smollet, who has been found guilty of 5 counts of lying to officers Mohammed Beg and Detective Kimberly Murray, which is how could you look at them in the eyes and lie?
And lie to them. How could you lie to these wonderful, wonderful people? Officer Mohammed Beg and Detective Kimberly Murray. And as we know, that when this happened, literally anybody on the left immediately came out and talked about what a travesty this was, and how terrible it was, and how we should not live in a country in which this still happens. And even the sitting president and vice president weighed in. These are the same people that implied that Rittenhouse was a white supremacist. So they were just swinging and missing a lot during this time period. But Kamala Harris tweeted, "Jussie Smollet is one of the kindest, most gentle human beings I know. I'm praying for his quick recovery. This was an attempted modern day lynching. No one should have to fear for their life because of their sexuality or color of their skin. We must confront this hate." And then somebody who runs Joe Biden's Twitter, because it wasn't Joe Biden, said, "What happened today to Jussie Smollett must never be tolerated in this country. We must stand up and demand that we no longer give this hate safe harbor, that homophobia and racism have no place on our streets or in our hearts. We are with you, Jussie."
We were all stunned by Jussie's bravery, the gay Tupac, as it were, as he said, because we all remember when
was Tupac, that him?
Yeah,
I thought the gay Tupac was
gay Tupac. And the thing is, I don't recall Tupac lying to Officer Mohammed Beg. By the way, I can't find. There are actually many Mohammed Begs, including the former chief of staff of the military of Egypt during the, I believe, 6-Day War. But a different, maybe related, but not.
Maybe related.
Possibly related.
I'm not going to say.
Well, at any rate. So Juicie's going. Is he going? He's facing jail time, right?
Yeah. So, fun fact: those tweets, I screenshotted those tweets yesterday. They have not pulled those tweets down, even after everything. I mean, they are holding strong.
Commit
as,
to the lie.
As strongly as Jussie Smollet, who in his trial doubled down on the story that he's been spewing since January of 19, even though there is video evidence and text evidence and a check that proves that all of his story is crap. He stuck to it through the trial.
Mm-hmm. Gay Tupac.
So, gay Tupac.
The gay Tupac would never, ever, ever admit to lying to Officer Begg or Detective Kimberly Murray. So the odds are he does technically face prison, but odds are he's going to receive restitution and pay back $130,000 that was spent looking for the two white racist, MAGA-hatted, bleach and rope carrying. It's just such a stupid story. It was just so.
As I was typing this, I was like, "Oh my god, this is so dumb."
Outside at 2 a.m. during one of the coldest nights of the year in Chicago's bluest district. Yeah, it was like -20 out. It was like some freak winter storm they were having.
Yeah.
And they were just out looking for. Oh, and they knew he was the gay guy. They said that's the gay N-word from Empire, because white racist MAGA hat people with nooses.
They didn't say gay. They said F word for gay. It was F word for gay person.
N-word, F word. And what made it even more unrealistic was that they said they literally said N-word and F word and not the actual words, which I think would have made me, as the gay Tupac, wonder, maybe these are the people I just hired to do this. But no, he's certain that it's someone else.
Yes.
And he thinks
yeah, on the coldest night when he awoke at 2 a.m. and needed a Subway sandwich.
As one does. He was carb craving. He was probably doing keto to keep his figure down. And then he was like, I need carbs. I need to Subway eat fresh. And so he talk about being in the wrong place at the wrong time. He went out into like the most progressive part of Chicago during that snowstorm, and two really racist possible Klan members knew him from Empire and said, well, that's perfect.
Yeah. That, if not Klan members, they were definitely Trump fans.
Yes.
Definitely Trump fans.
They were wearing the hats.
MAGA. Right. Yeah. They were wearing the hats.
I mean, you have to be a committed white supremacist to be Nigerian and still want to be that's just so stupid. The funniest thing to me was in all of this was when we first got this story and had to tell it during the show. And we're not trying to do the oh, that's fake, I'll take $500 for things that never happened, Alex, because things do happen, and we don't want to look like schmucks. But we're reading this and we're like, this is the dumbest thing. We're trying to be cool. We're like, listen, if this is true, then it's terrible, and whoever did it needs to be found and punished and whatever. And we're like, this is super, super incredible of a story. And then turns out it's still true.
It's still true. It was so true. During the trial, I didn't follow this one that closely because I was like, I know how this is ending. I don't need to watch this.
Yes.
But during the trial, he testified that with one of the brothers, 2 days beforehand, he was having cocaine-fueled violent gay sex at a bathhouse with him.
Yeah, you told me about this, and I haven't read this. So he was, and isn't that where he got this idea of being beaten?
I think that was.
implied.
I don't know if that's where yeah, we'll say that. I'm not sure if that was a joke that we came up with or if that was actually in there. Yeah. But yeah, so he testified to this on the stand, and then he's like, well, and then you wrote him a check for the money. No, that was for nutrition. It was for nutrition tips that he gave me.
$130K. I want to give Jussie Smollet nutrition tips now. I'll do it for half of that.
I don't think he needs them if he goes to jail.
Actually, you know what? If anything, he needs them even more, to make sure he doesn't mess up his macros while he's in there. And I'm going to tell him, number one, definitely
stay away from ramen.
Stay away from yeah. So speaking of stories, we've got
idiotic trials that were forced to
idiotic trials that are being botched by one side or the other. In this case, here's one that's also, well, I guess this one's being botched by the defense too. Although I think in Jussie's defense, or Jussie's defense's defense, what the hell are they supposed to do?
Right.
They've been hired by someone. Yeah, they've been hired by someone who there's like tremendous amounts of evidence. They have everything but a confession. And he's like, nope, I'm going to put the system on trial. This happened. And they're like, well, okay. My client says that this totally happened, Your Honor.
This 100% happened.
Here's a case where it should be a slam dunk, and yet not so much. And that's the Ghislaine Maxwell.
Ghislaine
Maxwell.
Ghislaine Maxwell trial. Yeah. So the prosecution in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial being led by Comey's daughter. Actually, I don't know if it's being led by Comey's daughter, but I know she's on the prosecution.
She's on the thing, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if she's the lead prosecutor. They are just saying they don't care at all when it comes to this. The trial was expected to run 6 weeks or more, with the prosecution calling witnesses until, I don't know, after Christmas.
Yeah.
They rested 3 days ago now. They rested on Friday. And the amount of info, because everybody's like, we can't wait to find out what's all the information on all of the terrible people who are out there and all of the terrible things that they have done. And the information that has leaked that wasn't already known, like Prince Andrew flew on the Lolita Express, that Bill Clinton was on the Lolita Express, that Donald Trump was on the Lolita Express, things that were already known or at least suspected. The only thing that really leaked is Alec Baldwin is in the Little Black Book, which he's having a tough year.
He didn't.
Tough year for Alec Baldwin.
He never.
You know who's having a worse year than Alec Baldwin?
Don't.
The family of the cinematographer that he shot in the face. Much worse year for them.
Definitely.
Their Christmas is not as
Their
happy.
Christmas is canceled, yeah.
Probably because they're in California and there's more restrictions.
Yeah, their Christmas was already canceled. Now it's ruined too. It's just incredible. Like, so I posted or tweeted about this. I actually posted and tweeted about this back when they rested. They almost screwed up being able to release the black book because they did it wrong. They tried to bring in an expert witness to read from it, even though that expert had nothing to do with the collection of the information. So they were really only able to talk about it in the aggregate towards the end of the trial. They focused so much on these FedEx delivery log records even though they exonerated her of having anything to do with mailing out the lingerie. That was one of the smoking guns that they supposedly had. And yet they knew, they already had read the log records and knew that there was nothing in there that showed she had ever mailed out lingerie to anyone. And in fact, it did show her mailing out other stuff that was perfectly fine, like other work-related stuff. So she had access to the UPS account, but wasn't using it to send stuff out. So that's gone, and that was what they put their main focus on. There were no other smoking guns. They supposedly were going to put all these different people on the stand. None of that happened. And now the prosecution team is, or the defense team, which is made up of some of the best former prosecutors alive right now, is going to do their defense.
Yeah, and they are calling 35 witnesses. 35 witnesses, which at the time of writing these notes, and I didn't check back today to see if any names had been released, note the list of witnesses is unknown. Unknown.
Yeah.
But when it comes, like, the way that the prosecution has been, the way the prosecution's been in this case, and the fact that the media coverage has been minimal. Like, you can find it, you can go out and you can search for it.
Yeah, it's out there. They're not hiding it, but yeah.
Right. But it's not leading any stories. It's not the headlines at any major news publications. I think she's gonna walk.
She's gonna walk.
I think she's walking.
She's gonna walk. She's gonna walk. And in the you know, now that I'm a regular media darling, in the media's defense, I do want to say, I mean, yes, they aren't covering this as breathlessly as they would if this looked like it was going to indict more Republicans. But honestly, Fox hadn't even been covering it all that much. And I think the two main reasons are, number one, the federal government doesn't allow cameras in the courtroom. So they're having to kind of fluff stories out of what happened as opposed to showing it. You know, I do think if they had cameras in the courtroom, we'd be getting more access to it. But the other thing is, the prosecution hasn't really delivered anything newsworthy other than they suck. Like, there hasn't been like the big. I remember one day the biggest thing they covered was the fact that Ghislaine Maxwell turned around and started counter drawing the sketch artist. She, like, passive aggressively was, like, staring at the sketch artist and drawing her back, like, you know, I guess to establish her dominance. And that was the biggest story of the day, because the prosecution's case was a nothing burger that day.
She really didn't like the the drawings that were coming out of her.
I don't blame her. They were terrible. I would be mad. I would be like, can we get someone that does photorealism? Because these cheekbones deserve that. And this chin deserves that.
Right. No, I understand. Like, you need the jawline to be well sculpted.
Yeah, don't do
by
like
the hands of an artist.
Yeah, don't
not by some
weird, like, sketch garbage.
Right. No, absolutely not.
I mean, it's gonna be the trial of the century with me. You know, I flipped my Camaro into the police station or whatever. Like, it's gonna be a big deal, and I really would hope that you'd bring out someone nice. So I get it, but no, she's walking. She's definitely walking.
Yeah, she's walking. So before we get into that one, a story that I wanted to throw in here that I didn't. Have you heard about the Cuomo Brothers not having a good year either?
100% unemployment rate. I mean, talk about build back better.
Governor Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo. I had to think about which Cuomo brother was the governor. He has all of the money he made on his COVID book. He has to give to New York. Because it turned out that he used, like, government aids and government services to do it while he was governor. So now they're like, no, you owe us all of that money.
The freaking sack on this guy. Oh my gosh. Well, that's good. So if nothing, I mean, if you're going to kill thousands of elderly and disabled people in order to scare the rest of everyone else into accepting your draconian, it's quasi-fascist lockdowns that ultimately did nothing to actually stop the disease or even slow it, then you might as well recoup the taxpayer their costs for your freaking passion play book you made about yourself.
It's 5.1 million or 5.2. It's 5 point something. I don't want to get Facebook opinion checked.
This man is a sitting governor writing books about being the governor and making millions of dollars, and no one had a problem with that.
Nobody had an issue with it up until he got accused of sexual assault and harassment.
Yes, of harassing, which again, how freaking disgusting and grody. But right. I'm happy every time that I've been asked my opinion about it, or I've seen anyone else prominent, especially in the liberty world, who was asked about this whole thing. They're like, that was terrible. But honestly, it would have been better if he were getting in trouble for the thousands of elderly and disabled people he killed. Like, that would be much more appropriate. If it takes this, fine, but it should have taken this, and jail time should have been included.
And then this week, Chris Cuomo's lead, his right-hand man, his lead producer or something like that, was arrested by the FBI for grooming girls as young as 9 and attempted on a 7-year-old to teach them how to, as the article says, cock worship, and paying mothers $3,000 to fly their daughters to him at his ski chalet in New York.
And who is this?
That's Chris Cuomo's former CNN Cuomo, Chris. Yeah, Chris. Chris Cuomo's producer, head producer. And I have
guys,
I have an assumption.
Yeah.
I have an assumption that it could possibly have something to do with why Chris was fired.
You think? Guys, if you don't want to keep being called pedophiles, stop being pedophiles. Or ebophile. Well, no, this one's pedophiles. Who knew that a position of power and influence that you can use to control people would attract sexual predators? Speaking of sexual predators in a large group, the White House has announced that they are aiming to restore faith in government, Matt.
Yes. They said that they are going to restore the faith in the government and the American people.
That's fantastic.
So obviously this means that they'll be, declassifying the JFK documents, or stop utilizing the government to spy on us through our phone cams or through our their webcams, or through CCTV or whatever.
Joke's on them. They could just watch us.
Right, they can watch us whenever they want. Really.
Just watch our show.
We have 11,000 hours of content this year. Watch whatever you want.
That'll keep them busy.
Yeah. Or the stopping the authoritarian use of OSHA to end bodily autonomy for everybody. Anything obviously when you're talking about restoring faith in government, this is what they need. Well, no. What they mean is you can now get passports online, and you can speed up Social Security payments and money coming to you. But if you want to see a very terrifying quote, here's Joe Biden. The bottom line is we're going to make the government work more effectively. This will go a long way to restoring faith in the government. Whenever Joe Biden says we're going to make the government work more effectively, I get chills.
Yeah. because we've seen what that means.
This man can't effectively go through a meeting without crapping his pants, and he's going to make the government more effective.
That's okay. Last night, I was on a panel talking about Joe Biden's mental health, where I flat out said, listen, we've been watching this man sundown in front of us for like 2 or 3 years. And the Democrat that they had on the panel said, you know, I think a lot of people here are being awful judgmental about Joe Biden's stutter. And the rest of us are like, he wanders off. That's not a stutter. He doesn't even really stutter. This isn't about stuttering. Like, people stutter. I mean, Donald Trump will, like, I mean, give me a break. Stutter?
Stutter?
He stands there with his hands, like, clenched like this because he's having a moment. Like, stutter? He complains that his handlers aren't letting him go. Oh, I did the thing again. That his handlers aren't letting him, you know, get out, and that they limit who he can talk to. He like has these moments like where grandpa doesn't like how they're treating him at the home, but but that's all a stutter, Matt.
It's all, yeah. He overcame a stutter to not have one for his entire time in politics.
He overcame a stutter to not stutter, but also display all of the telltale signs of dementia for the last 3 years, and in a worsening manner. Yeah, and in a worsening manner.
Each day.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the last time, each day it gets worse. I think the last time I was as disappointed as I am now is when Jacques de Gatineau disappeared from our small town of France, and he, because Matt, I've probably told you this before. Jacques de Caletois was an incredible down-to-earth person, but also the most brilliant man. Why I think if he were to be in a room of 100 people, why you couldn't find 90 people in there that were smarter than him. In fact, indeed, I doubt you could even find 70 people in there who were smarter than Jacques de Caletois. And even 40 or as low as 30 people, you would be hard pressed to find in that room as smart as Jacques. In fact, I'm not even sure that anyone in that room would be smarter than Jacques. And yet then he just disappeared, and it was very sad.
Very, very sad. I miss Jacques.
He was great. Now we know what's not sad though. And I'll tell you, that is the next segment, which is the personal injury attorney, Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, anchor call-in moment. Started a little high there. Where you can go to anchor.fm/muddywaters and leave us messages. But hey, friend, while you're there at anchor.fm/muddywaters, add a /subscribe and become a subscriber to Muddy Waters today. Join the muddied army of the muddied mud people, militia, the mudlitia. Of mud. Subscribe today, and you get access to ad-free content. You get access to subscriber-only content every couple weeks, and then you also every month, and we did this last week. Every month, one Thursday a month, we do the Muddied Zoom, where we all get onto a Zoom call. You hang out with me and Matt and Jason Lyon and Eskimo and all the other really cool muddied peoples. The whole Muddy crew and all the subscribers, and we hang out together and we say, hey, you know those people that don't subscribe? I wonder what they're doing. Losers. And so all of that for the low cost of $10 a month. But if you don't want to subscribe, you don't have to. You can still go to Muddy Waters or anchor.fm/muddywaters, and you can leave messages for us by pressing the message button. You do not have to be a subscriber to leave a message or for us to play it here and answer your questions. But we will like you more.
A lot more.
Like a lot more.
Like a lot more.
Like we're going to like you so much more. And
unless
so with that...
Tom Arnold.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, if you're
Tom Arnold subscribed in here.
Right. He subscribed.
And so we have two questions, including one from someone new. His name is Abil.
Hey Spike, have you been following the crisis in Ethiopia? The U.S. has subtly been pushing for regime change due to proxies in the media. And just wanted your thoughts on
I
it.
can't hear that.
You can't hear it?
No.
Hey Spike, have you been
You
following
can't
the
hear that?
crisis in
I
Ethiopia?
cannot. No, I
The
cannot
U-
hear that.
Ah, here's why. Oh, you've been hearing the garbage microphone this whole time, haven't you? That is funny. How do I sound now?
Oh wow, you sound so much better.
Okay, here, we're going to do that again. So here is the thing from Abil. Well,
Hey Spike, have you been following the crisis
Hey.
in Ethiopia? The U.S. has subtly been pushing for regime change due to proxies in the media. And just wanted your thoughts on it.
yeah, I've been hearing, Abil, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for leaving the message. And I've been hearing about there's a crisis with is it the Tigray people or something like that? And yes, it has very strong elements of they're pushing for a new regime because it's the same stuff they do with China and the Uyghurs, where they're trying to make it sound like there's this massive Holocaust going on and we have to do something. The difference being, of course, we aren't going to do a damn thing about China. Like there's not there may be some saber rattling. I think they did some embargoes on some sanctions against specific people and businesses, but like Ethiopia, they can frickin' just bomb Ethiopia and put in a new regime if they want to. Like Ethiopia is a sitting duck, and we have troops in Djibouti, like a lot of them. We got so many troops in Djibouti, and the whole region. It would be on the scale of things easy to do regime change there, and by easy I mean dozens or hundreds of Americans will die. Countless tens or hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of Ethiopians will die, and will waste well over $1 trillion over the course of several years, only to end up replacing who we removed with the same people or something worse. Yes.
I'd never heard of it, so I
okay.
I am going to defer to what you said.
Yeah. Yeah, I know of pretty much everything I just said. I know very little. I've looked at it just enough to go, yeah, no, they're saber rattling hard. And see, we have the new saber rattling. We have woke saber rattling now. Instead of back in the day, it'd be like, these people, they're trying to threaten our lives, but we're too strong for that. We're going to go in there and kick their asses. Now it's like, oh my gosh, these people are not being intersectional and they're not respecting the equity and inherent divisions that are being caused by their discrimination. It's unfair and we need to do something both brave and stunning. It's like this new woke and we're gonna
sound
send
like
all
a character
of our
on Freedom Tunes.
Yes, we're gonna send all of our trans women of color there to queen their way through the bodies of hundreds of thousands of Ethiopian children. This is it's the new form of imperialist saber rattling, and it's corporate media approved, and it makes me sick, makes my skin crawl. Because then if I say that, they go, what do you have against trans women of color? And I'm like, well, I'd rather not use them as murderers. That's my thing. I don't have a problem with trans women of color or trans women of any color or just women of color or color people of color, or trans people that aren't of color or really anything. I don't have a problem with anyone. I think everyone's great. Everyone is equally fantastic. I equally don't want any of them to murder people. All of them. So here's the one from Alex Boyer. We haven't heard from him in a bit.
We have.
Hello. Alex from Virginia calling in on the personal injury attorney, Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, anchor call-in moment. And, talent anvil, right? I mean, it's a problem when the CIA is like, hey, you guys are killing a bit too many civilians, right? What are your thoughts?
He said talent.
Thank you.
Talent anvil.
Talent anvil, yeah.
That's Afghanistan or Syria.
Yeah.
That's
it
Syria,
was the thing
right?
that just got released about the CIA. The CIA is saying that these drone strike people with the military are just taking it too far. The CIA saying,
right. Yeah.
CIA, one of the most murderous organizations in American history, would like you to know that our military is a bit out of control right now.
The CIA, it was at what, from 2011 to 2019, 114,000 bombs. I think this is off the top of my head from what I read. 114,000 bombs were dropped across Syria to attack ISIS and only hit civilians.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then initially were being blamed on ISIS until that wasn't tenable anymore. That group would like you to know that the military's gone a bit too far in their book.
Right. Yeah,
that's just that is freaking amazing. And the best part about all of this, guys, is that no one is going to be punished. There is no policy change, and they're not even really admitting to it yet. One of my
Why should they, Spike?
One of my favorite American tales, if you will. My first favorite American tale is 5-0 Goes West. My second favorite American tale is that, yes, the military and intelligence in this country have been committing massive atrocities around the globe and here in the 1950s, the 1960s, the 1970s, the 1980s, the 1990s, the 2000s, and the 2010s, but no one was ever punished. No policy changes were made. Anyone who's still alive has been promoted, which means they totally aren't doing it anymore. And if you think they are, then there's something wrong with you and you're weird. How's your tinfoil hat feel?
Yeah.
I like this background.
Yep. I have my stagnant background right here that never changes. That never changes.
Max Headroom.
And you're Max Headroom, or Alex Jones.
No, this is definitely Max Headroom. The other one, this is Alex Jones. This is. Go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you.
That's a first.
This is Alex Jones.
That's okay. Alex Jones. Yeah. When you're sitting up there as my best man and the officiant's like, Matt, you're going to be like, yes, he does.
Yes.
Let me just say, Matt, hang on. Like, I don't want to interrupt you, Matt.
Hold on, Matt. Sorry.
I'm going to let you finish.
Matt, real quick, I just want to introduce you. My friend Matt is going to be giving his vows right now. Matt, go ahead. Sarah, oh, thank you so much. Matt, right, with the vows, ladies and gentlemen. Sarah. Anyway,
yeah, it's no surprise that U.S. Wasted a bunch of bombs to kill people that they weren't intending to. What is shocking is when the CIA says we may have overdone it.
Bit much. Oh man, I like the new vibe of the CIA going, they're worse than us. And then the military going, well, maybe, but we'd never admit to it. It's like the Norm Macdonald bit where he says he's a deeply closeted homosexual. And
right.
It's like the military going, listen, we're deeply closeted mass murderers. And everyone's like, oh, so you're mass murderers. Well, no. Don't you know what deeply closeted means? I would never admit to being a masked murderer. So I'm telling you, I'm not a mass murderer.
Larry King was so confused by that interview. It was so great. Are you telling me that right now are you breaking news? And he's like, you're no. You know
like,
what
do you know the definition
homosexual
of
is?
Deeply closeted?
Yeah.
It's someone who would
never
ever admit that they're a homosexual. So I'm telling you. And he's like, so wait, but you are gay. And he's like, hey, buddy. Anyway. Yes.
That is such a great bit.
That was a great bit. But yes, no, the CIA is concerned that the mass murder of the military is worse than theirs.
Yes.
It's a sad,
rightfully so.
It's a sad moment. It's again, it brings up some of the feelings that I bury down during the holiday season of Jacques de Crastino, who was a leader.
Is this his cousin?
Huh?
Is this his? Is
so
this Jacques de Gatineau?
Jacques was a brilliant man and a leader, and I remember the first time I met him. I was a little child just running through the cobbled streets of France, and when I get my little, and I have my beret on and my little baguette. What's it called? No, what's the bread called?
Baguette.
I was wearing a beret and I had my baguette and and I was smoking a self-rolled filterless cigarette, as we are wont to do in France. And I was or we call it France because we're French. And I'm walking down and I tumbled down on the cobblestone roads, the uneven cobblestone roads, and my cigarette flew out of my mouth, and thankfully I fell on the baguette, and the beret had a little padding there too, or I'd certainly be dead. But I was still hurt, and more than that, I was confused and sad, because that was the last bit of money that my parents had given me to go out and get a baguette for Hanukkah. I'm lying there in the ruins of the baguette and thinking this beret is probably broken too, and that was the gift from the Hanukkah past. Hanukkah's ruined, and out of nowhere comes Jacques de and he said, "Oh, Spike, are you okay?" And that's how he talked. And I said, "Well, physically, yes, but emotionally, no, I'm not okay. I'm not okay." And he said, "Well, what is the problem?" And I said, I fell and my baguette is ruined. It's not even a baguette anymore. Look, here come the pigeons. They come and take what is left of it. And my beret is broken. And then the cigarette, oh, disaster. And so he says, I will fix all of this. And so we go to the bakery, and he buys me a brand new fresh baguette. And I said, "Oh, what a tremendous thing you have done to me, and for me, Jacques de Clatenois." And I am so happy. Surely nothing could be better on this, the final day of Hanukkah. And he said, "I am only getting started, eh?" And then we went to the clothier in French, and found the finest berets they had. And it was a beautiful beret. And he said, "You can wear this." And I went, "I don't know if it'll fit." And so we got the custom clothier came over and fit it to my head. And we got a perfectly fit beret for me. And I said, "Oh, Jacques, oh, this is incredible. And there's just no way that this could ever be better. This could never, you have topped yourself, Jacques de Clatenois. There's no way that you could ever do better than this." And Jacques said, "Oh, I am only beginning." And then he signed me up for a year's supply of nicotine patches. Because even though back then in the 80s in France, cigarette smoke was seen as healthy, he knew. He knew. He was a smart man and ahead of his time by at least 20 or 30 years. And he knew that cigarette smoking was no, very bad. And so he got me off of the hard stuff. He got me off of cigarettes, and then also the thing with the bread. And I remember in that time I said, "Jacques de Gatineau, I love you. You are like my father. My father was never there for me. But you, finally, I have a father figure." And he said, "I do what I can. I like to think of myself as the father of our town, of France." And I said, "That's good. Thank you." And so we all had our hopes pinned on Jacques de Gatinois. And then he disappeared, and it was very sad.
Very sad. We all miss Jacques de Gatinois.
Got to know.
De Gatinois.
Yeah.
Jacques de Gatinois. Used to get letters from that guy. Miss him.
We did. We did, and then he disappeared. Again, with the hopes were so high. We thought president of France, or maybe even the head of the UN. You know, such incredible things. Maybe he
president of France, or maybe even just the head of the UN.
You know, I mean, like after he's president of France, like is it like a dignitary role? Right. Or he could have been the head of NATO. He could have been the civilian head of NATO, because Jacques de Gatinois, he would have never joined the French military, not in the tatters it was in. So Julian Assange.
Oh man, I had such a good segue, but I was like, that might be going too far. Alex Boyer said, was Jacques Duvalier an entirely different person? And I was going to say, no, Spike just suffered a stroke. And speaking of Julian Assange.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't say that.
Yeah.
So
that would have been a step too far.
That would have been too far on a August program like ours. So Julian Assange, speaking of, the U.S. government, it's surprising absolutely no one. The U.S. government, in exchange for Prince Andrew not having to testify in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, the U.S. government has won its appeal of a British court ruling that Julian Assange extradition on Espionage Act charges can proceed, and he will be sent to the U.S., which sets the stage for the WikiLeaks founder to be sent to the U.S. to face trial and possibly the death penalty. Actually, no, they did assure, there was an assurance that he would not face the death penalty or supermax. And as we know, when the U.S. government makes promises about its foreign detainees, it always keeps them. Sometimes.
Now, a lower court judge had ruled in January that Assange would be at risk of suicide or other harm if held in American custody. And the U.S. promised, they crossed their heart, hope to die, that he would be held in the most strict confinement, like Epstein. So he wouldn't be able to commit suicide. So the ruling was reversed.
Again, when the U.S. government says they're going to protect a high-profile defendant from suicide, you can believe that on a stack of, if they could swear on a stack of Jeffrey Epsteins, none of whom killed themselves.
None of whom killed themselves. So the ruling was reversed. And then Julian, I don't mean to laugh at this, and then Julian suffered a stroke the next day. It was a mild stroke. It was still a stroke. It was a stroke.
Extreme stress.
I don't want to down. Yeah. Doctors from all over have testified that Assange suffers from severe depression, which we have been able to basically witness just watching the deterioration of himself over the course of, since he left the embassy. You just see how he's been deteriorating over the stress and the depression and everything of all of this. But they say that he suffers from severe depression and other mental illnesses that are triggered by the years he has spent on the run, and he would be at grave risk of, not even. And he's at grave risk of suicide if extradited to the U.S. because, someone, my voice just cracked like I'm going through puberty. Someone So on. Like the kid on The Simpsons. Order number 48. Someone's at much higher risk of suicide when they're held in an American jail.
His risk of suicide is very high, whether he likes it or not.
Yeah. Now, the Biden administration, the bastion of free speech, known as the Biden administration, has continued to press ahead with Assange's indictment over his alleged role in assisting whistleblower Chelsea Manning to release thousands of State Department documents, cables, and other classified information.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as we all remember, from 10 years ago, wow, that was 10 years ago. As we all remember from 10 years ago, WikiLeaks is where Chelsea Manning released the documents that included thousands of documents outlining U.S. perceptions of foreign regimes and helped trigger major unrest in countries like Tunisia, where the 2011 revolution was spurred in part by revelations of domestic corruption outlined in the document. Basically, the U.S. said, we don't like this, so let's plan this, this, and this, so that way we can just have them fight each other.
Yeah.
And then we'll protect us.
When that ended up triggering the Arab Spring, they said, oh, good, here's our chance to knock off a bunch of people that we don't like, and maybe some that we do. But hey, whatever it takes, huh? And then that made things way worse. And that's it. That's a Hillary Clinton special, by the way. That's Hillary Clinton convincing Barack Obama that everything that I've read is, I mean, Obama went along with it, but that was Hillary Clinton pushing that. So for all the people who are saying, oh, after the Trump years, how could you possibly say that Hillary wouldn't have been at least as bad? No, she would have been terrible. It's hard to fathom what she would have been like as the actual president. But I am certain we'd be in many wars right now.
Whenever somebody says, I think Hillary Clinton would have been better than Donald Trump, the only response I can think of is, what does it matter now?
At this point. What difference at this point?
That's the quote. Yeah. What difference?
But honestly, what does that even matter now at this point?
It does, right?
Nothing. That was really a nihilistic statement there. It's like, well, nothing matters now. Is basically what she was saying. Just nothing means anything. There is no purpose.
There is none. WikiLeaks also helped uncover evidence of civilian killings carried out by U.S. troops during the war in Iraq, including the shocking video footage that I'm certain most of us, if not all of us, have seen, of the crew of an Apache helicopter killing Reuters journalists and others during the 2007 attack in Baghdad.
Yep.
Brian Williams, while signing off for the final time on NBC, insisted he was there.
I believe him.
Did you see that sign?
First of all, remember, there are alternative universes. So in a way, Brian is everywhere. There's nowhere Brian Williams hasn't actually been. So he's not, in the truest sense of the word, he's not lying. But in most other senses, he is.
in the purest, most abstract version of truth, he's telling it.
In the version of truth where there is no non-truth, he's telling the truth. In every other version, it goes downhill pretty quickly. Also, it is because of WikiLeaks that we know about Edward Snowden's revelation about the NSA spying on every single.
I thought that was Glenn Greenwald. I thought that was WikiLeaks. Now you have me. I thought he went to report it to Greenwald when he was still at The Intercept. And
I thought The Intercept was Reality Winner. I may be wrong. Hold on. I can't remember now. Hold on.
Yeah, I know WikiLeaks has published so much, but I thought that the Edward Snowden NSA was, I thought that was Greenwald. Snowden. Yeah, according to Rolling Stone, which, you know, that's just the top thing that came up when I said it says that.
Oh, so, okay. So WikiLeaks helped him with his escape to the
to Russia,
out of the to Russia, out of the U.S.
Right.
Okay, all right. I knew WikiLeaks was involved, but then I remembered you're right. It was Greenwald that released it. So they helped with Ed Snowden. We knew about Hillary Clinton deleting all of her emails, and also about Hillary Clinton. We knew about Hillary Clinton working with the Democratic Party to rig the primary to make sure that she became the nominee in 2016.
Over Bernie, yeah.
Over Bernie.
Yeah. The work, the actual journalistic work that WikiLeaks has done, where they have gone out and they've gotten the documents and they checked them and they said, okay, let's release this, is second to none to basically any other media outlet in the world.
Yep.
In the world. And now,
they don't even add their they don't even really add any editorial. They literally just release it. Here, go look at it, go find out for yourself. It's like the purest form of journalism. Here, go find out for yourself.
Right. You can read it, you can research it, you can figure out what this says and what this means all you want.
Yep.
And now, because of this, there is the potential criminalization of standard journalistic practice.
Yep.
This could mean no more secret sources, no unnamed sources, no. During the one of the big things that I had a lot of issues with Trump, a lot of them, but one of the big ones was they're talking about some unnamed source at the White House. Why don't we know the name of the source? Why won't they release the name? There shouldn't be any unnamed sources. Well, you can't have named sources because that person will get fired, or that person will no longer be invited to meetings, or there will be repercussions. That person could get suicided, whatever. Like, that is why you have unnamed sources. That is why journalists go to jail to protect their sources, because you do not want the names of your sources getting out. If you let one of them leak, you know, like the source did, if you let one of them leak, you will never get another source ever again. And now, because documents were released, all of that could go away, and you will have state-sponsored media 100%. So this has obviously alarmed press freedom advocates and people like us, people like you who are watching and listening. And imagine a world where Nixon, who at the time was considered to be the reincarnate of Satan, by many, he probably still is, but he was considered to be the reincarnate of Satan. If he had charged Woodward and Bernstein with espionage for the Watergate story and not revealing the name of Deep Throat, that would have been so outlandish, he wouldn't have had time to resign. He would have been impeached day one. That was in 1973.
Three. Yeah, three.
Yeah, 1973 is when that story broke. I think he resigned in 74. WikiLeaks was 2011. So in what, 30 years, 40 years?
37 years, yeah. Yeah.
37 years. In 37 years, that was the swing that we saw. Imagine if the authors of the Panama Papers were charged with espionage. Imagine if the people who leaked Iran-Contra, espionage, just flat out espionage, just all of these people who were leaking this stuff to the media, all of it, espionage. Some of the greatest political scandals of our lifetimes, of longer than our lifetimes, because I know the mean age of our audience. So in your parents' lifetimes.
Lewinsky Gate, Whitewater Gate, all of this stuff.
Yes. Yeah, Lewinsky Gate, Whitewater Gate. So like there are so many that we couldn't even try to list them if we wanted to.
Yep.
It is absolutely insane that the U.S. has now said, okay, because Chelsea Manning was a sergeant, I believe. I don't remember what she was.
I don't remember her rank. No.
Her rank. Yeah, because she was a sergeant, and because she found out that what the U.S. was doing was absolutely unethical, immoral, and against so many codes, that she leaked the information to Julian Assange, who puts it online. Now he's being charged with espionage? No, absolutely not. If so, Mark Felt, for anybody who doesn't know, that's Deep Throat. Yep. Mark Felt should have gotten an espionage charge. And so should Woodward, and so should Bernstein.
Exactly. And then not just in the U.S., because what's going to happen now is as the U.S. criminalizes foreign correspondence, which is essentially what this is, so will other countries. Do you think that the stuff you're finding out about that's happening in other countries, especially in oppressive totalitarian regimes in other countries, that's coming from like a press release from that government? No, it's coming from sources that are illegally being leaked in those countries illegally, and then we all find out because of it. That's journalism. The whole purpose of journalism. It's journalism. It's literally the purpose of the idea of journalism is the idea of exposing the truth from those in power to the rest of us, so that if we're going to have a democracy that is the least bit informed, it has to have a robust, independent, and fearless journalistic aspect to it, or else we're just all clapping like seals to whatever the government says. And now you understand why corporate media is the way it is now. Because they get hand-fed stuff from the government that they repeat as the truth, or they can find out the real truth and risk going to prison for it.
Or risk losing advertisers because...
Or even risk losing advertisers, yeah.
You're going to risk... Yeah, so take a look at The Intercept, that's who Greenwald worked for, right? Was The Intercept?
Yeah, Greenwald is The Intercept. Or was The Intercept.
Okay, so... Yeah, because I know he left recently because he hated how media was going. But recently, The Intercept released the information on the U.S. funding gain-of-function research in Wuhan, China.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so theoretically, where they got that information, I think that was from a Freedom of Information Act, and they just went through decades of stuff. But, they're now giving out government secrets that are readily available, but still giving out government secrets and
here's the thing: if they effectively stop the ability of people to find it and leak it, then they don't have to abide by Freedom of Information Act, or they could say, oops, it's all been destroyed. It's that fact that it could get released and be a further embarrassment that keeps them in check to release it in the first place. So no, they wouldn't release it without that check. We'd never know if it ends up turning out that the U.S. government or another government inadvertently or intentionally created this virus and then it leaked. That completely changes everything. But if
Right.
that can't be released, then we're all sitting here not knowing.
And The Intercept also did that story. We covered it about the app, that you can get, and you text somebody and it puts a tracker on their phone and then gives you all the information
Yep.
from their phone.
Yep.
And it was being tested in Israel, and like 32 heads of state had the virus or the malware.
Saudi Arabia
on their
was
phones.
using it. Yeah.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia was using it. The Intercept released that. Had the U.S. been involved, could have been espionage, and that reporter now would be guilty of espionage under these conditions, and it is a terrifying time. And so, Trevor Tim, who is the executive director of the Freedom of the Press Foundation, said on Friday that. He said that United States prosecutors continued to push for this outcome is a betrayal of the journalistic principles the Biden administration has taken credit for celebrating. True.
Yep.
As brave whistleblowers have explained for decades, this kind of abuse of the Espionage Act against sources, and now journalists and publishers, is an embarrassment to basic ideals of justice and to core First Amendment values. This is one of the greatest affronts on the First Amendment in the last 30 to 40 years, I would say, because they are literally attempting. You can sit there and you can say, yeah, what Facebook does is an affront to my First Amendment. What Twitter does. No, that's different, because that's Twitter and Facebook, private companies doing it to you. We don't agree with it, but it's a private company doing it. This is the government stopping a journalist from reporting or releasing information that they received. This is the greatest affront to the freedom of the press, which is one of the very first things that they put into the Constitution for a reason, which is more evidence to support the Constitution's a piece of paper, and if the men in charge don't want to listen to it, then it's meaningless.
Oops. Accidentally anarchisted you just now. Oopsie. So we did get a good question. I'm glad that it was asked. Travis Bull Johnson, who is a libertarian who's running for Congress in Minnesota. Man. What's that?
Love that man. That man, he's
a great. Travis is a fantastic guy.
Great,
I'm glad he asked.
Great person, just wonderful person.
And he asked, so where is the line drawn? If someone leaks all troop deployments during wartime, is it protected if it's reported? Well, Travis, that's an excellent reason why the government should be declaring war before it sends troops off to war. Because if it's war, then there's a different standard for things related specifically to the war. But when there is a when it's, when we're in this not war, then the rules are different. I think the line that any reasonable judge or any reasonable person that's looking at this would take is there an active threat to the safety of people who are keeping us safe? If that's the case, then yes, it needs to proceed. If it's not, then that should be considered espionage and prosecuted thusly. If it's not, then it means the government shouldn't be doing it, and we should definitely know about it. So if it isn't actively, going to put someone in danger, or if it's putting someone in danger who is doing something that is not actually needed or protecting us, and or might even be making things worse, as many of these disclosures have demonstrated that we were actually made less safe by them, then we need to know them. So, that puts the onus on the government. If you're going to put Americans in harm's way, make it something that would stand up to show that, well, we needed to not let people know because they're doing something like, for example, troops protecting us. And I mean actually protecting us, not being in a foreign country doing the bidding of central bankers and foreign dictators and cartels and terror groups and central and military contractors and energy contractors. But instead, if they were, on our borders or near our borders protecting us, then yes, that's something that if someone released that information domestically, then that would be considered espionage. Here's another aspect to that. Julian Assange is not an American citizen. he doesn't actually owe anything to the U.S. or the U.S. government. Even by their own definition, he is a foreign citizen who was reporting for everyone, but he's a foreign journalist who's engaging in journalistic practices. Now, could the government try to prevent him from getting the information or something like that? Sure, but that's different than charging someone with espionage. I will tell you that our freedoms and safeties are far better served by us having more access in general, having more access to the secrets of this government and other governments around the world than for us to rely on them because it could potentially harm troop safety. But no, there's definitely a line. But I would say that the line is certainly closer to our transparency. We're the ones being robbed. We're the ones being ordered around. We need to know what's happening, and we need to know as much as possible. So, but that's an excellent question.
Excellent question.
It is. And I'll tell you, this whole thing, it's unfortunate. I hope that Julian Assange's prosecutors are as bad as Ghislaine Maxwell's are, because it's all human beings on this planet deserve to be able to know more about what's being done with the money that's being robbed from us and the power and control and freedom that's being taken from us. And the only way that's going to happen is with the occasional gut check to government to keep them in line. And this does, this pushes us more towards media just being a repackaging of, or really just a mouthpiece for prepackaged government propaganda, which is increasingly what media is. And it's the stick and carrot approach. If you just tell them what we tell you to tell them, then you get all these special access and everything else. If you tell them what's really happening, we're gonna suicide you. We're gonna prosecute you for it. It's very unfortunate.
And,
go ahead.
So real quick before you jump to the next one, I think that this is such for whatever the prosecution team is. Is this going to be a public trial, or is this going to be more of the God? Why am I blanking on the name? The secret trials.
Oh, like Ghislaine Maxwell? Oh, you mean like
No.
secret?
Yeah.
I don't think they're treating him as a criminal, as like a military detainee. So I do think it'll be a civilian trial. I think it'll be like similar. It's not going to be like the Gitmo trials. It's going to like where they're in front of a tribunal. I think it'll be more like Ghislaine Maxwell.
Okay. Yeah, because I was gonna say if it's a one of the military tribunal trial kind of things, that will be such a slam dunk for prosecutors because nobody will hear about it. It won't matter.
Yep.
It won't matter. Like they'll be able to say whatever they want. They will, and even if they don't, the judge will still go, "Yeah, I don't care what the jury says. You are still going to prison." Like, I think the fix is in on that one hard. And I know that they've made some sort of arrangement, or they've offered an arrangement with Australia, the bastion of freedom that place is, to have Julian stay there. If he's
in fact, that was actually one of the many promises that they've made to the British government, is that if Julian requests it, then they will let him do his time, whatever time he gets, in an Australian prison, as opposed to an American one. Again,
right.
They have absolutely no reason to abide by any of this, or let him live, because they're already talking about high risk of suicide, and he's having mini strokes and all of this other stuff, and then suddenly he's not alive anymore. And that's terrible. What a sad conclusion. But he was an espionage spy. What a scumbag he was. And that's the end of that. And I think the fix is in. I hope I'm wrong.
Oh,
I hope I'm wrong.
He pissed off the right by leaking stuff about George Bush back in 2011, and then he pissed off Obama because he leaked stuff at the same time. And then he pissed off Hillary Clinton and the DNC when he leaked the Hillary Clinton stuff. And
Yep.
everybody was like, oh, he supports Trump. He just wants Trump to win. And then he was held up and then he was arrested. And now, like, I am not willing to go out on a limb and say that Julian Assange is a good guy. Won't do it. Don't know. Have no idea. I don't know if that rape charge is credible.
Well, the government of what is it, Sweden?
Sweden.
Yeah, they didn't think it was because they dropped the charges. Now some of that was because on some of the charges the statute of limitations had worn out, but on some of them they didn't have sufficient. The other ones where there wasn't a statute of limitations or it hadn't worn out yet, they decided there wasn't sufficient evidence. So the only thing they had was, oh, he ran away. Well, he ran away because he was trying not to be detained because he knew that that would be the opportunity for the government to do what they're doing, the U.S. government to do what they're doing now and
Right,
push for
to
his
extradite
extradition.
him.
So no.
So yeah, like I won't say he's a good guy, but I will say he does not deserve to go to prison for what he has done here, what they are charging with him here.
No, definitely not.
This is an affront to the freedom of speech and the freedom of the press, and
Yep.
this will be a precedent that you won't get back.
Exactly. And I'll tell you something. I do want to end the show on a good note though, because did I tell you about my trip recently to SeaWorld?
Mm.
No? I didn't tell you about my SeaWorld trip?
No.
Oh, so I went to a place, yeah, SeaWorld. It's got the fish, and it has the dolphins and the stingrays. It's a fish. It's a fish zoo. It's a zoo for
Liquid zoo.
It's a liquid zoo, and I went
It's a liquid zoo.
to the liquid zoo. And I went there, and I got there was a bit of a mix up at the front, and I did get my tickets. I bought them online, and there was a mix up there, and I had to show them my ID, and I got my tickets, and I'm walking into SeaWorld, and who do I see but the stingrays? And so you can feed the stingrays. They'll give you stingray food, and you feed the stingrays, and that was a great pleasure. And then I go and I walk away from that, and then what is it that I happen upon? The penguins, and I see them. I see the penguins, which is weird because they're not fish, but they're kind of like fish-like, and so yeah, it's like a fishy. It's like they're like fish adjacent, and so had a great time with the penguins. They're flopping around and doing their whole thing. And I go and I look, and there's past the penguins off in the distance, there's a dolphin exhibit. And I went and I said, oh, let me look at the dolphins. And I go, and there standing before me is Jacques de Gatineau. And he's sitting there, he's feeding the young dolphins, the baby dolphins. And I said, Jacques de Gatineau, what has happened? And he said, my job is to give food to the baby dolphins. Like how I made sure you had food, I do now for the dolphins, And I said, Jacques de Gatineau, we had such high hopes for you back in France. And everything we hoped that you would one day lead us to greatness and put us back on the map, not just for France, but for all of France, the whole nation of France, as we call it in French. I said, Jacques de Gatineau, what are you doing? You've ruined everything. You're not serving your potential at all. And he said, well, I think I serve a youthful purpose. Because the dolphins are babies.
Yeah. Yeah, no, youthful porpoise. Yeah.
So, folks, thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Muddy Waters of Freedom French edition.
Hey, fun fact, really fun fact
Yes.
I'm going to give you right now.
Okay. Never do that again.
Right now,
Mhm.
Muddied Waters Media is the number 13 political podcast in Italy.
Really?
Yeah. Still haven't charted in the US, people, but we were number 2 in
Italy.
Slovenia for a while.
Yeah.
And now we're number 13 in Italy.
So there's people like, Matt didn't spike.
Is that Italian?
I like a Matt and a
You
spike.
do this with a French
what I want?
accent?
The Matt and a spike on a Muddy Waters Media.
Yeah, number 13.
Number
We have
13.
charted in so many countries.
That aren't
We
American.
charted in Japan. Yeah, that aren't America. We charted in Japan. We
Mhm.
charted in Slovenia. We charted in Italy. We charted in Brazil. We charted in. I don't remember the others. Those are the only 4 I can remember off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
this could be you. This could be us, but you're not Slovenian. So
Or
thanks.
Italian.
Or Italian or Brazilian or Japanese or whichever other one. And you're definitely not from Esquimalt, France. But thank you so much for tuning in. We had a great time. Thank you for listening to my hour-and-a-half long joke. And we have a really great guest coming up. So on Wednesday, that is tomorrow, at 8 p.m. Eastern, on My Fellow Americans, that's my show, I have High Res and Jimmy Levy again. Hopefully this time my streaming service will work and I won't have to reschedule again. We will see, but I feel good about it because it's been working so far so good. This Twitch is not making me excited though. That's not making me happy, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Tomorrow at 8 p.m. High Res and Jimmy Levy, of course, have some new albums or new songs that charted. Actually, we're on the Billboard charts. This is a War and Welcome to the Revolution. And High Res is a very popular rapper with millions of followers. I'm one of them. And it turned out I reached out to him about the possibility of him being on my show. Turned out he follows me and is a fan of mine and retweets my stuff often, so that worked out well. So we're going to have him on the show, and then on Thursday you've got a really incredible guest, Matt. Tell us about him. I'm excited that we're giving him the airtime he needs. He deserves.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to have him on. I have Dave Womack coming on Thursday on the Writer's Block, 8 o'clock Eastern. And for anybody who doesn't know, Dave Womack is one of the 14,000 libertarians that were elected in Pennsylvania.
In just that one town.
In just that one town. He's one of the 14,000. But he is coming up against some adversarial issues because there is something in his past that came to light, and because of it, the people on the board that I believe he got elected for are trying to block him from being able to take his seat that he won in an election.
Yep.
So we are going to be, I'm certain, talking about that. Either that or we're going to talk movies. I'm not sure.
You could talk both. You could talk both.
Yeah, I could.
You can tell them about the bigger travesty, which is that Titanic won the Oscar. But anyway, no, if you have to say it, just...
I don't. Nope, I don't. I do not have to do that.
That'll be longer than my Jacques to Got to Know story.
It would. It really, really would today.
I mean, you know what's really upsetting is that the whole purpose behind it is that they're trying to make Jack and what's her name? The Rose out to be these great people, and yet Rose is like the biggest scumbag ever. But whatever.
Biggest scumbag ever. Worst villain in movie history is Rose from Titanic.
Yeah.
Anybody who says Ginny from Forrest Gump is just wrong, because Rose from Titanic, to sum it up in the shortest amount of time possible, this 98-year-old terrible human being who has hung on to something that would have set her family up for life if she had sold it, auctioned it to some museum or collector or whatever. Could have not had money issues ever in her life, hung on to it forever, sat there and told this boring ass story to this boat full of people who paid for her to go out there because apparently that's where she wanted to die for whatever reason.
And the purpose of her going out there was to try to find this thing.
To find the thing that she already had, because she's a lying whore. And when she finally dies on this poor guy's boat who wasn't able to find the thing because she had it, and then she drops it into the ocean, she goes to hell, I can only assume, because she's that terrible. It's got to be hell. Yeah, it has to be hell. And in the afterlife, she meets up with the guy she knew for a weekend, and not the man that she later met, had children with, had grandchildren with, watched him slowly decay over time, and sat by him while he died. Not that guy, not the guy that was allegedly the person that she loved for what one could only assume was 75 years. No, not him. The guy she knew for a weekend and cheated on her fiance. Rose is awful, and she should have moved the fuck over.
And that, exactly. So not only that, so she's in, the reason she wasn't with her husband is because he's in heaven. So when she went to hell. And
well, that's a valid point.
So another point. Data point demonstrating she's in hell. She went to hell with the guy she murdered.
Right, with the guy she murdered, who welcomed her and was like, well, you were the last person I slept with, so I guess you're good enough.
I mean,
God, that movie's so stupid. And Good Will Hunting, and as good as it gets. Good Will Hunting, as good as it gets. Both far superior movies.
Helen Hunt.
Far superior performances. Helen Hunt. She was fantastic in that movie.
Helen Hunt, Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson.
Greg Kinnear.
Cuba Gooding Jr. Cast of characters.
This was Cuba Gooding Jr. before Boat Trip. This was Cuba Gooding Jr. when he could not make a bad movie. He had done a run of fantastic. And then he made Boat Trip.
He made Boat Trip, and it's just been...
Yeah, and then I don't know if he played OJ in that thing. I don't know what else he's done. He's an Oscar winner. God, that movie's so stupid in the fact that they just they wanted their first $1 billion movie. That's it. They wanted the first $1 billion movie, and they got it with that piece of crap.
But
which later got beat by that other.
What do you expect from a bunch of pedophiles and, well...
That's her nude scene. She was a little old for the pedophiles, but
no, I meant the producers. But so that's going to be your guest on Thursday, Dave Womack. Then on Monday, join us for another amazing episode of Mr. America, The Bearded Truth with Jason Lyon. His guest is going to be Dan Taxation is Theft Berman, a really fantastic guy. And
love that, man.
Then join us right back here next Tuesday for another fan-frickin-tastic episode of the Muddy Waters of Freedom, where Matt Wright and I parse through the week's events like the chipper little...
I believe that next Tuesday would be the Christmas special.
Yes! Next Tuesday is the Christmas holiday special of the Muddied Waters of Freedom, where Matt Wright and I are going to Christmas our way through Christmas. And Matt, If someone were to
Hopefully-
look for Muddy Waters,
Hopefully, we have a video from Tom Arnold.
oh, if
and
only.
wrap up.
We'll have to ask for that because I hope so.
Yes, we will.
So, Matt, if someone were to look for us on this internet thing, is that even possible? And if so, how would they even do such a thing?
It is possible, Spike.
Oh, wow.
Future best man. You may not have been vice president, but you will be best man.
Well, it's a better role, frankly.
It is a better role. It's more suiting.
It is
to
more
you. All one would have to do is head on over to anchor.fm/muddiedwater.
Yes, head over to anchor.fm/muddywater.
There you can hear the dulcet, sweet, sultry tones of our voice.
Buttery.
As we whisper.
Like butter.
As we whisper our way through these closings. Instead of staring into our beautiful steely blue eyes. Which you can see much better on Spike than on me. Because Zoom downgrades us to 720.
Yes, and also I have like much larger LED panels than I actually need. This is the lowest setting. They're really big.
That's what she said. While you're there, you can leave us messages that we will play live on the air on Tuesday nights. Or Jesus Christ. Or you look like an art house movie from the 90s.
Wow, it's so bright it made my green screen come back.
Yeah. Or you can subscribe to get access to the subscribers only group on Facebook, to get access to exclusive content, 10% off at the Muddied Waters store, a special subscribers only code at defythepower.com.
Yes.
And access to the Muddied Zoom once a month.
Muddied Zoom.
Or you can find this. Or you can find this and every other.
Say it again.
muddiedwatersmedia.com.
Yes, that worked. Okay. Folks, thanks so much for tuning in again. And if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go check my everything between now and tomorrow's show to make sure it works. But thanks again for tuning in. And we love you very much. We couldn't do this without you. We're so happy to be a part of it, to have you be a part of all of this. And we will see you tomorrow, Thursday, Monday, and back here on Tuesday. And where we're going...
We don't need roads.